Hey guys, welcome back. And if you're new here,
I'm Lee,
and I'm GC.
and tonight we are bringing you guys Theburning. This movie right here, 1981. This movie is a movie that, we like to say like how we first were introduced to this movie. So I like this one's gonna be fast for him, so I'm gonna let you start.
We just saw this one. At least I did. Lee recommended.
Well, we both just watched it, but it was his first time.
Yeah, and wow. I mean, man, like talk about like campy, like slasher, like old school. That was it. Man, where do you want to start, man? I know this one. This one's Lee's recommendation. He recommended me this one, so that's how I'm gonna let him take over.
Yeah, well, funny enough, the movie's from 1981, and I did introduce him to it, and he just saw it for the first time right now. But I haven't really known about this movie as long as you would think. Like, it's from 81. You know, we grew up with horror and stuff, and I just learned about this movie in like 2020 during the pandemic. I remember that In Search of Darkness documentary came out, and there's a lot of movies that I never watched, and I just made a list and I wrote them down, and this was one of them. And I watched it, and I liked it a lot. So I was like, oh, I saw the Shout Factory had a copy of it, like they had released it, and I bought it. So that was kind of my introduction to it. So it really hasn't been that long for me. But funny enough, in 4 years, I've probably seen, because I also introduced it to another friend of mine, I've seen it 4 times, so almost like once a year recently. So,
well, how many times have you seen it this year already? Because this has to be the second, right? Because didn't you see it recently, like a few months back, I think?
Well, I know I watched it around this time of year last year with my friend.
Okay.
Yeah, because I introduced it to him, and it was a whole story. But then he came over one day and we watched it. He had already seen it, but we decided to watch it again. So yeah, I've seen it 4 times now. But yeah, I mean, it's 1981, so I don't know if you know, like there was like 81 was a year where a lot of slashers came out. A lot of slashers. The Prowler, Burning, Friday the 13th Part 2, which this movie is very linked to. Not only because Tom Savini, the makeup effects artist, decided to come to do this movie instead of Friday the 13th Part 2 because he did Part 1. But there's just a bunch of a lot of 1981 slasher movies that came out. So I kind of went down a lot of those, and this was one that stood out for me.
He did the original Dawn of the Dead, but which other ones had he done? Because did he do like George A. Romero's like other movies as well? Or?
I don't want to speak just in case like I get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure he also did the Day of the Dead, the original.
Okay.
And I know for sure he did like him and the guy, I forgot the guy's name that's doing like all the Walking Dead ones. It's like this guy with long blonde hair. They both did From Dusk Till Dawn in the 90s.
Nice, dude. I didn't know that. That's freaking
amazing movie.
Oh, I know. I got to get my hands on that one. I haven't seen that one in quite some time. That one definitely needs a rewatch.
Yeah, I remember going to see that one. I saw it in theaters originally, and I also saw the 20th anniversary in theaters of that one. But anyways, we're here to talk about Theburning.
That's right.
So yeah, we're gonna get into the plot. Just give you a fair warning. There is gonna be spoilers. This is gonna be spoiler heavy. We're gonna just get into the movie, talk about the story as it goes, and talk about the things that we liked and the things we didn't like.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. Like, if you want to watch this, just do not watch. Just pause now, go watch the movie, and then come right back. Because if not, then I mean, if you want to watch the spoilers and still watch it, go for it. But highly recommend pause it. Just pause this. We'll be here.
If you saw the name and you clicked, you're most likely either a fan or you just want to see what we're gonna say.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, definitely check it out before you watch the full video.
I'd never heard of this movie until you told me. Like I was like Theburning. I kept thinking of something else, and you know what movie I thought of when you mentioned it, and it's the complete opposite, but Wicker Man. For some reason, because of the whole another spoiler, but when Nick Cage is like set on fire and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then the original one is from back in the day too.
So I guess I kept thinking Theburning, but man, when you mentioned this movie, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. And then starting it off, I was just like, then like they really get into like pretty quick. I mean, it's
got its no pun, I guess maybe pun intended. It's very campy. It's a campy movie,
absolutely,
and it's it wasn't done on a big budget, and it's super in the vein of Friday the 13th. I mean, this movie not only came out a year after the original, but it came out the same year as Part 2 of Friday the 13th, and it's very much a camp movie of the 80s, and very much in that vein. So yeah, it's basically, if you enjoy the Friday the 13th movies, you'll most likely like this one.
It was it almost felt like, I know back then when this movie, when The Burning came out and Friday the 13th came out, I know they were new at the time, but it almost felt like an homage. Like they were kind of, I mean, because it was so much that was just Friday the 13th.
Yeah, big
I
time.
mean, the only difference I have to say right now, guys, I'm doing a rewatch of Friday the 13th. So I'm right now on number 4. And it's just watching this one, The Burning, so far, I enjoyed the kills more. Like we'll get into certain scenes, certain kills that I was like, that's
Yeah.
way cheesy. But so far, the last 3 that I've watched of Friday the 13th, like I've enjoyed these kills more, and like the way this guy was more merciless. Like this guy seemed almost like possessed, like he wasn't human anymore compared to
Yeah.
the first 3 Friday the 13th, where it's like he's slowly, like the first one, it's like like the mom, and then the second one is like him, but he seems almost still kind of human. And then
Yeah.
he starts little by little getting his outfit together when he steals the clothes from the clothes hanger, and then the mask. But yeah, the Burning Man, like Burning Man, like it's I enjoyed it. Like I really did. Like
Yeah.
I get why you like it, and it was fun, man.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fun movie. It's not a masterpiece, or
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, just because I'm a pretty big fan of the Friday the 13th movies. I do actually. I mean, I'm not gonna give my rating away just yet, but I will
Oh yeah.
say that I like this movie better than the first Friday the 13th. But I think I still like Friday the 13th Part 2 a little better, because that's one of my favorite Friday the 13th.
That one, yeah. I
And they
agree.
both came out the same year, and they're both very enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I think I like that one just a little bit better. But this movie's a lot of fun, so I guess we're gonna delve into the plot and what
Yeah.
happens as the movie
I,
goes.
I enjoyed seeing the young actors, like the guy, and I'm gonna have to look up the guy's name, the one from Hackers, like seeing him young. Like,
Yeah,
dude, it was so awesome to see him. I've only seen him in Hackers and maybe one other movie, but that's the only one that I could think of. And seeing him, I was like, wait a minute, that guy, he sounds different. Obviously, he's young,
yeah, he's super young. He's a
but
teenager
seeing him, the
practically.
guy from Seinfeld,
Yeah,
um,
Jason Alexander's in this
Jason
movie.
Alexander, yeah,
Yeah, and the guy from Hackers is for me, I always think of the Super Mario Brothers 1993, because he's one of the two guys always looking for the
yeah,
people. So while he looks for that, I'm gonna tell you, like, basically the movie opens with a bunch of it's like a flashback with a bunch of kids that are gonna pull a prank on this
man.
guy that they hate in this camp. Like he's like a he's is he a camp counselor? But he's
Cubs,
like, they
yeah,
don't like him and they want to pull this prank on him. So they basically have this box, and the guy's sleeping and he's kind of a drunk. And they go in there, and we don't know what it is as the audience, what they're
yeah,
gonna show. And this guy's just sleeping, and they put this box, and he's like, "Oh, we need the matches." The other kids are like, there's a window, and they're behind the window watching this one kid do it. And he's lighting it, and when he pulls it out, it's like a skull
yeah.
with like worms and lights. And the guy wakes up and he gets scared and he locks it over, and the fire gets on him, and then he starts to catch fire, and then a gas tank that's close by also hits, and he just complete fire, and then he runs out of the cabin on fire, right?
Dude, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Like he just, but it was funny the way he just, and it starts escalating. Like first he's like a little bit on fire where it's still salvageable,
Yeah,
to like, yeah, he kicks the gas can and then he's still salvageable. And then he gets to the door, and at this point you're like, I don't think he's gonna get out. And then he gets out, and you're like, these kids could still help him. There's like 5 or
like
6
put
of
him
them.
out, or
Yeah,
push him
nothing.
and drop and roll or whatever.
And then he does tough, like he drops and rolls, but like downhill. And it's like this guy could not get a break, man. It's just one thing like there was so many times that he could have been saved, and one thing after another, he ends up like in the water, and
No, and the
you
thing
know,
you notice from back in those days too is, which I love, and at the same time you can see it, especially in HD now, is that the stunt man, he's wearing all this big stuff while he's on fire, so you
yes,
see him all like big with all this stuff, but at the same time the fire is real. Like, if it's one thing I don't like about CGI, it's fire. The CGI fire, it always looks fake to me.
yeah,
Unless it's something like really like with a big budget like Avatar or something. But
yeah,
other than that, the fire, especially on low budget horror or action, looks really bad. And I wish they would do more things like this nowadays still.
yeah.
So yeah, so you see the guy, he's bulky and stuff, but at the same time, at least I appreciate the stunt and the fire and stuff. So
Somebody put themselves through that, man. Like that's incredible. Like it's true. I appreciate it too because it's you could go the CGI route and it's so much easier, like kind of. But the
yeah,
fact that somebody was on fire for us to watch this movie. That's like, that's awesome. And you know what? If there's some padding, this and that, I mean, you can't expect the guy to be on fire without protection.
It doesn't take me out of the movie, and if anything, it's kind of funny. You know, like you enjoy the movie. It's a campy movie, anyways.
Yeah.
And so basically, he jumps into like a lake, and then we cut to 6 months later, and he's in the hospital, and there's these two this doctor that's new, and this other guy's been there for a while. He's telling him, man, if you want to be a doctor, you gotta come see this guy. He's a burn victim. And he's gonna creep you out. You've never seen anything like it. And the doctor's like, I don't want to. He kind of forces them to see it. And basically, when they pull back, you see this guy's arm grab, and you see all the burn on his hand. And that's it. That's that little scene, right?
Dude, that was that was rough because you see his arm and it's like burned, his knuckles, like that looks real, man.
Skin coming off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the guy freaking out, the nurse screaming, like.
Yeah, that was funny, man.
I mean, I probably would have had that reaction too. It reminded me of Silent Hill when in that one scene where you actually see the girl that's all like burned. No, not the. Yeah, it was the girl. It wasn't not the nurse. It was the girl that was all burned, and you kind of see her and stuff. It reminded me of that. It's like, oh my god, it's like the same thing.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah. So and then after that, I think so we cut back. It kind of the movie kind of starts, and you kind of like want it to get going because at least me that I've seen it a few times, I'm always like waiting for the camp stuff to happen. But it's not that long. It's like 10 minutes of all this opening stuff, and then the next one is so they're letting him out of the hospital. So basically, he goes out and he's wearing all this like stuff where you can't see him, and he goes and he picks up a hooker, and she takes him to the house.
This guy gets out of the hospital, and the first thing he's like, "I'm gonna go pick up a hooker."
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up a hooker and then kill her.
Yeah, and then but you know what? I will say that it did move pretty fast because if you think about it, the first 5 minutes is these guys like these kids, talking shit pretty much, and next thing you know, the guy's on fire. He's in the hospital. You see like the burnt arm. Fast forward, picks up a hooker, kills her,
and the hooker's like, "Oh!" and she gets all scared when he sees his face, and then he basically stabs her, and then he throws her off the window.
Yeah,
and then we cut, and then there we are in the camp, and there's a bunch of kids. We just see a bunch of kids playing softball.
Yeah, all the girls playing softball, and the boys being boys, and just staring.
A lot of 80s close-ups of the girls, the asses.
It was.
Well, we have to mention that unfortunately this movie was not only produced but even written by the Weinsteins.
Yeah, so. And you could when Lee was telling me, hey, take a look at the credits, the intro credits. And I saw Weinstein, and then once you start watching the movie, you
can't get it out of your head.
You can't,
because there's a couple of characters that are super creepy, and they're very like
misogynistic, aggressive, like. Even us, we're watching this, and I'm like, man, I feel like, at least for me, I'm watching this. I'm like, man, I feel uncomfortable. I feel bad for the girl. Even
there's
I know it's a
character.
movie,
there's one character it's a little too aggressive. With
for sure. We'll get into that guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's too aggressive. But anyways, so we'll get to that. But so they're playing baseball.
Yeah, with all the close-ups.
Of course, there's always the close-ups, and then there's a ball that goes into the woods, and then the music starts, and we know that this guy has gone back to the camp.
Yeah.
And there's a girl looking for the ball, and we think that she's gonna get killed, but she doesn't. She grabs the ball and she goes back to the camp, and so nothing happens. They keep playing.
They keep teasing.
We get introduced to the characters. We get to see the guys talking to the girls, and we get to see Jason Alexander from Seinfeld. He still has full hair. It's the first time we see him without not being bald.
I've never seen him young, man. So it was so weird.
Yeah.
But in a good way. It was like, wow, like it's just. There's certain actors you've just never seen young, so you've always pictured them looking the same their whole lives.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how they introduced the characters, because right off the bat, during that scene in particular, you're already seeing the cocky one, the overly aggressive one,
of course,
the nerdy one, and it's very stereotypical campy horror where there's always one of each, like the leader and the girl that's always
the bully,
the bully, and then
we get the bully, which. In this movie, I like the bully. He cracks me up. The way he talks. His name's Glazier.
Glazier. I don't know if you guys seen. I hope you've seen the masterpiece of Dodgeball. Yeah. If you haven't, pause this movie. Pause this movie. Pause this video and go watch Dodgeball, because these jokes here, like Glazier, Blazer, Taser.
Allow me the pleasure of introducing you to Blade, Laser, Blazer.
His name is funny, and it reminds us
Glazer.
of that movie. And also, he's just a character that he's kind of a bully.
Yeah.
He's a bully to one of the kids at camp mostly.
That one kid, yeah. Which was
I think his name's Andrew. No, Alfred.
Alfred, yes.
Yeah.
Alfred. That was an interesting name.
Yeah, so well, funny enough, after the scene with they're playing baseball or softball, then we cut to one of the girls going to take a shower.
Yep.
And then, so you get your nude scene for all you
and
enthusiasts out there for the nude scenes.
Yeah, you probably get, that was the only nude scene.
No, it was two.
There was
the other girl.
That's right. So there's only for boob rating here, you're only gonna get two pairs. Two pairs of boobs. That's it.
Yeah, and a bush.
And a bush. One bush and 2 pairs of boobs.
But for the girls, there's plenty of guys mooning the screen.
Oh, absolutely,
stuff,
ladies.
For the ladies, butt scenes, about 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, there's a mooning scene. I mean, there's enough for everybody.
It tries to even it out a little bit.
Yeah. Back then, they actually really did try to do that. They try to even it out.
Because nowadays they do it a lot more. You know, but yeah, you wouldn't see it as much in 80s. Horror. It was always the women.
I was like, why did I just get mooned by the guy from Hackers? But like, what the hell, man?
And Jason, maybe Jason Alexander.
He was too. Yeah, he was in it too. I was like, what the hell, man?
So this girl's taking a shower and then she yells. So we meet Alfred.
Yeah.
He's kind of a creep because he's creeping up on this naked girl.
Yeah.
But he's also kind of gets picked on. But we'll get to that later. And so then we see the girls complaining to him, and then we meet the 2 main characters, which is basically. They're kind of like they're camp counselors, I believe.
Yeah, they were in charge for sure. They were like the supervisors. They were the older ones, definitely.
I'm trying to remember their names. It was Brian. No, it was Todd.
Todd, yeah.
Todd and the girl's name, I forgot it. I'm looking.
It wasn't Chrissy, was it? And guys, I know we just saw this, but it's
but a lot of,
we've been working on a lot of content.
There's a lot of names.
Oh, actually, you know what? And I have it here open.
So Todd, and I think it might be Michelle.
Michelle, you're right. Yeah. Michelle, that's right.
So Todd and Michelle are like the camp counselors. They're the ones that you kind of look at and you're like, okay, these 2 are responsible.
Yeah.
They like see it's like a healthy couple,
They were healthy, man. They were just a little kiss. They're like, all right, I'll see you later.
They were good. They were good compared to everybody else.
Little monsters, man.
Yeah. So basically, she tells him, hey, you got to take, tell this kid Alfred. His freaking name is Andrew, man.
We're changing it.
We're changing it to. So Alfred to not be a creep, whatever. Yeah. And then he tells them, and then he's like, hey, if you need anything, come to me and I'll help you out. And then we cut to the scene where we finally get to meet good old Glazer. Glazer is like the bully of the movie.
Yeah.
But he's funny. He cracks me up. And he's aggressive sometimes, but he's not as bad as that other kid, which we'll get to, but I actually don't remember his name either.
It's funny because he Glazer, I wouldn't even call him a bully now, man. Because I'll tell you, in the beginning already, I was writing my notes. I was like, I do not like this guy. But then when you really look back and think about it, the only reason he was particularly with this kid was because
he was looking at his girl.
He was looking at his girl, and the entire time he didn't really pick on anybody
except for that kid.
And he was like, you see him sharing the bunk with Jason Alexander's character and everybody else, and he was just hanging out with them. I mean,
yeah, it's like sometimes like during one of the lunches, like. He gets aggressive and he grabs Jason Alexander. He's like, hey, man. He's like, yo, calm down, Glazer. But it's nothing too crazy because there's another character. His name is, I believe, Eddie. And he's the problem of the movie. He's kind of weird, man. Like, before we get to Eddie all the way, I think this is where the plot moves for the movie now is that while they're all at the cafeteria, the main camp counselor tells everybody that the next day they're all going to go on a canoe trip.
Yeah.
So we get the main cast that we've been introduced to. And the next day, they all go on this canoe trip to the other part of the lake. It's not really that far. And this is where most of the movie takes place.
Yeah.
So,
they were supposed to camp there, I believe, it was 3 days. And I mean, no, dude, I think it was a bit of a distance because I remember they couldn't walk back.
No, they had to canoe there and it took them a bit. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they never say how many miles away it is.
Yeah.
But it's far enough that you're not going to walk because they always I think you could get there only by canoe or something, separation. But so the movie cuts to our first campfire scene that we've all been waiting for.
Oh, that's the campfire scene. Yeah, no, that was a treat. Like he's again, what was his name?
Todd.
That's right, Todd. Good old Todd.
Todd's telling the story.
He's
basically telling the story of
what happened in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, like with the whole
Cropsey.
Cropsy, being set on fire and tripping over 40 things and pretty much somehow rolling down a hill and drowning at the same time. Yeah. But yeah, he's saying the story and everything.
Well, at the end of the story, he does say they never found the body.
Yeah, they're like, they never.
So I guess he got himself to the hospital.
Yeah, that's true. This guy limped his way in there, and then you have, like, long story long, after this scary story, you have this masked killer jump out, and behind Glazer,
right?
Glazer,
and who is it? It's good old Eddie.
It was Eddie, yeah. And then Eddie jumps out, and at the time, in the beginning of the movie, during the baseball scene, you kind of see Eddie get a little handsy with one of the girls, but then at the same time, you're like, it wasn't like he got handsy, but at the same time, it was more of like she was also smiling, and it seemed like they were flirting. But then now in this scene, you see Eddie jump out and scare them, and you're still thinking, this guy's fun. He's funny, like he's a cool guy. And again, it starts unraveling. But after this scene, when he jumps out, what I love the most about this movie, that was my favorite part, was the music. The music. And I know you're waiting for it. Yeah. And it was that whole, like, it reminded me of some type of, like, side quest,
like never-ending story.
Yeah. Like the song, whoever chose that song for that scene. Let me tell you.
Before we get to that,
yeah.
Well, going back to when they're canoeing to the other part, they're playing bluegrass music.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, it didn't bother me because I thought it was kind of funny, but it didn't fit almost. Like, it was kind of weird.
It was
like I don't know. It was like Deliverance type thing going on.
It was. I felt like, and then somehow one of the canoes sinks. Like, do you remember that? Where they're all like play fighting and stuff, and then the canoe, Jason Alexander is like messing with the other girl. They're pulling each other's like paddles. And then it just sinks, and they're all like, they're all laughing,
and then it just cuts.
And it cuts, but you don't see, like, they're in the middle of this freaking lake, like it's deep there, but it just sinks, and they're all like, whatever.
Yeah, I guess they had to get into the other canoes or something. Yeah. And they don't mention that because they say they got like 6 canoes.
Yeah, so it's like you don't see them getting out. It just cuts. The music, it's confusing because you don't know how to feel, because then you got bluegrass. So you're like, is this a Deliverance? Like, what's gonna happen here?
Yeah, it's like fun type bluegrass.
It was, but it wasn't traumatizing.
But yeah, well, going back to the campfire scene, after he pops out, that's when the music was kind of like because it was almost like everyone was scared, and then when they find out it's their friend, then the music's like, it's supposed to make you feel like, like it's a victory or something. Like, we did it. Like, it's not a killer. We're all happy.
Yeah, and it felt like the music to an ending of a movie where the good guys won, like type of thing.
Yeah.
And they're all like,
the Mighty Ducks just won.
The Mighty Ducks,
like, we are the champions, but not as good.
Everybody's high-fiving in slow motion. Like somebody's chugging Gatorade, and it's like the song's playing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was, man. But it was funny. And then from there, it's just
it cuts to the scene that where Eddie goes with the girl he's been chasing. He's been talking to, and they go for a walk the next day.
Yeah.
Or is it that night? No, because it's not dark yet.
No, it was
that night, because then they go to
So it was like evening or something.
I guess they don't really explain that. I guess it's because they're on a campfire at night, but then they go for a walk and then they go back to sleep. So, anyways, the timeline is all messed up.
And you know what? It's the editing in this film too, because
it's not top notch.
Yeah, it's very like 1 minute it's daytime, the next thing it's dark, and next thing it's like
1 minute the guy's clean shaven, the next he has a beard. Well, not a beard, but like
the camera looks away, looks back, and he has a whole like 5 o'clock shadow, and his hair's like different. Like, dude, what the hell just happened?
And that makes me think that maybe they, obviously you shoot scenes different days, but also maybe there was a stop, and then they shot like a week later. But so they go for the swim, and this guy is like on the girl. He's jumping on her. He's like, she's like, no, get away. He's like, oh, you're gonna go after this again? He's like, well, you know what? I'm going for a swim. If you want to come. So she's like, but I don't have a bathing suit. And he's like, well, so what? No one's gonna see you but me. So he gets naked and he goes into the lake. And then she kind of thinks about it, and she's like, all right. So we see her. She gets naked. She gets fully naked. We see her walking into the lake, full nudity, whatever. And then, so what happens then?
I felt like that scene of her walking into the lake was at least like 15 minutes long. It almost felt like those old school, like 16 Candles walking down the stairs in slow motion.
Yeah.
But obviously for like campy nudity, it really wasn't that long, but it felt like it when she's just walking out. You're like, oh wow, okay, cool. You didn't expect that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because this Eddie guy, he's like really like that's where the Weinstein side kind of you start noticing the way the things that he's saying to her and the way he's like grabbing her and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna do this again," like Lee said, and he's just really like
he gets
putting it
mad.
on.
He gets mad.
This guy gets
Because
aggressive.
she, a lot of people will say, "Oh, she's teasing him or something," but it doesn't feel that way because
not at all.
Because the whole time she's been very like, she just probably like wants to kiss a little bit or stuff. She doesn't want to go all the way yet.
Yeah.
And this guy's like all up on her, and then eventually he's like, "Well, then get out of here," and he's like splashing the water, and he goes like that, like he wants to hit her.
And he goes like that. He's like,
"Oh,
that should be your thumbnail." It's like,
and she gets mad, and when she walks out of the lake, all her clothes are missing.
Yeah.
So she puts on her shoes and she's walking around naked. And then we see that the bad guy Crosby, he got her clothes and threw it all over the place. And
Crosby, oh my God! Imagine he's in there. Oh God,
that's his name, Crosby.
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 No, I was thinking of Crosby. Like he's like, oh, you got all these freaking weirdos in there. Oh man, like
so she's walking around and she keeps finding clothes and she's putting them on. And then, we get the is this the first kill of the movie?
No, not.
Well, no, not the first kill. The hooker. Yeah,
the poor hooker.
Oh, I forgot her acting was so good.
That was memorable for sure.
So
So
he kills her.
Terrible. Like of all the people that he could have killed, it could have been the little freaking aggressor, but no, he kills that sweet girl. Yeah.
You feel for her, yeah. So with this guy, he doesn't kill the guy. He doesn't kill Eddie. As
he hoped he would, like without, and it teased it because you see it's almost like the killer's point of view where he's watching him through the bushes and he's like swimming back and forth with his angry laps. He's like, oh
yeah, that's right, yeah.
They
keep showing him swimming all pissed off, like we didn't need to see that much.
Yeah, and he's like pouting.
Yeah,
and it's like all right, it's like please drown this guy, like drown him, bring him up, drown him again. But no, he just kills a poor innocent girl and then from there,
I believe it cuts to my boy Glazer.
Freaking Glazer, man.
He's like, so he's talking to Sally.
Yeah.
And Sally, their relationship ain't too bad. She's kind of playing hard to get, but not in the way that these other two were.
Yeah, like no, she was into him. Like,
and he gets a little bit, but it wasn't bad. Like he tries to kiss her, and she's like, I don't know. And then he's like, I promise, Sally, I'm gonna make it real good.
I'm gonna do real good. No, this guy is
the best.
You feel for him. I mean, he honestly became a personal favorite just because as he grows on you. Like this guy, you start seeing that he's actually a big-hearted guy, but he comes off as that back in the day, like macho, hide your feelings. Because dude, he was in love with her. You could tell.
Yeah, no, we did skip a scene in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where the nerdy guy that he picks on a little bit, they all go for a swim, and Glazer goes to swim to the girls. Yeah. And these guys all, including the guy from
Hackers,
they shoot him with a BB gun in the ass, and he's like, oh.
He's like, oh my God! And then and then one of the girls, he's like yelling at the nerds and like, the nerd, and then he's like yelling at him. He's like, I'm gonna get you, and why'd you do that? Supposedly. And then this girl just shoves them in, and everybody's just laughing at him, and you kind of feel bad. This poor guy, you could tell he's trying to peacock and he's trying to impress the girl
because he thinks he's like the big guy, But at the same time, like he keeps going after Sally, but he's always like, "Hey, Sally, my girl."
My girl, yeah. He's like, "That a girl." He's like a little chin thing. It's like,
yeah. So we get, I guess, going back to where we left off. We get to the scene where Sally and him like go and they're gonna have sex.
Yeah.
So it's a funny scene because it starts from the top and he's already like almost done, and he's like he finishes quick and she's super disappointed.
Yeah, it was probably definitely Minuteman situation. And you could see the disappointment, and the poor guy knew too. And he's like, "I'm sorry, Sally. It'll be better next time."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Next time, better next time." That's not how they sounded, by the way.
But he's disappointed. But at the same time, Sally's like, he goes, "Oh, so I guess you want me to go back, Sally?" And she's like, "No, I want you to stay." And he's like, "Oh, you're cold." He's like, "Yeah." So then he's like, "All right, Sally. Thanks." Like he's like being like, "All right, thanks for giving me another chance. Like let me go get some wood fire, some matches, and we're gonna I'll be back." But
let's heat things up.
Also, what happens is that's the thing I kind of get mixed up because I think we skipped the part where after this guy Eddie gets into a fight with the girl. Doesn't it cut to them like they're waking him up because they can't find that girl anywhere, so they can't find her anywhere. And the main Todd and the other girl are like telling him, "Hey, where's this girl?" And he's like, I don't know. All we did was get into an argument.
Yeah.
And then
and he doesn't tell them either, like what he did, like how aggressive he was. He's like,
nah, he's like, oh, we just got into a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's these two girls on the other side of the lake saying, oh, guys, all the canoes are missing. So this is where we find out that all the canoes were let go that same night. And they're all trying to figure out how they're going to get back to camp. And so this is like the in-between of what happened with Glazer and Sally. Just because we left that important part out, because them missing the canoes leads to the next scene after, which is them trying to figure out how to make a canoe. And they're all looking for sticks and stuff so they can build a canoe. And once they build the canoe, that's where we missed that scene where it cuts to Glazer and Sally going and like have sex.
And canoe was very. I would say it's an overstatement, because they literally, it was like Castaway style.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This guy made a raft, and
they made a little raft. Yeah.
The way they did that so fast too. I mean, dude, like I've never seen that in a movie where they've made a raft.
No, but the excuse is the best. And the girl's like, it's like, Todd, how'd you do? He's like, I was in the Boy Scouts. That's it. The Boy Scouts, he knows how to build a canoe.
No, Todd. I mean,
and she was like, thank God for the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, thank God for Todd. And no, this Todd guy, he was like the stud throughout the movie. He was always, like he confronts Glazer at one point. He's like, why don't you pick somebody your own size, and kind of immediately shuts him down. I mean, he's protecting the peeping Tom. He's really like. Throughout the whole movie. He's
the stud. He's the Brad Pitt, the David Hasselhoff.
The David Hasselhoff. Oh yeah, shirt open. It's like 3 buttons deep open, and
yeah. So they basically build the raft.
Yeah, they build the raft,
and then they pick like 5 or 6 of them that it goes, which includes your boy from
Hackers.
Damn it, yeah. And which his name in the movie is pretty cool. It's like Woodstock.
Woodstock. They call them Woodstock.
Yeah. So Woodstock and the guys go with a couple of the girls to go look for the other canoes. And this is where it's a pretty cool scene, I think, that they're all, like, they finally find a canoe and they see it, and the camera builds slow motion. And then finally, when they get closer, it has, like, this shot where you're like, oh, it looks like it's empty, and then this guy with the shears comes out.
The freaking shears, man. Like, that's his favorite weapon.
That's his weapon, yeah.
Yeah, that's his, like, man, like, and it's interesting, too, because, you know, in some of the scenes, he leaves it behind. So it's either this guy's been hoarding shears for years, or he's using the same. He just goes back to take it. Yeah,
probably, yeah. But in this scene, you see this. It's a cool scene the way the back angle is, and you can see the shears. And he goes down and he gets one of the guys here, and then when he gets it back up, it almost looks like the same shot, because you mentioned that.
Oh, we might want to tell them too, like where, because of the podcast. So if they're not watching, we want to see, like, we might want to tell them too where they
Oh yeah,
like where he got impaled.
They stabbed him like in the chest.
It was area. It was right towards the like the middle of the chest.
Yeah, like above the heart.
Yeah, right above the heart.
And then when he raises him again, we don't see any blood on him. But then he comes back down and he stabs, like, I believe one of the girls also around like the shoulder.
No, the shoulder, and he gashes her forehead open.
That's the last one. That was the best kill. But then, because before that, we get good old Woodstock. And he gets his fingers.
Yeah, he loses all 4 fingers.
And then that's that. You know, Tom Savini did pretty good with that makeup effect.
It was
a couple. Then we get on that boat. Todd was there, the guy who nobody likes.
Well, no, not Todd. Eddie.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Eddie was there.
You like Todd.
and he lands and you get kind of the kill that you see. That reminds me, and Tom Savini did the effects too in Friday the 13th Part 1 with the one right through the neck.
With what was it?
Was an arrow or something?
Baconator. Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon gets killed. So it's very similar to that shot. He recreated it, but this time instead of I don't remember if in the movie it wasn't an arrow. What was it? It was an arrow?
I thought it was. I thought it was like a spear or something.
Yeah. So
and that kill was way better. The Kevin Bacon one.
Yeah, because it's a little more
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a little more cut back. This one, everything's happening at the same time, and I kind of feel like the effect didn't look that good because his neck is back and it looks stretched out.
It was so,
and the shear goes right through his neck.
Yeah.
I would say after that, then you see him slice the girl right here in the forehead.
Yeah.
And then that forehead one looks pretty brutal.
That one
and you don't
good.
See that very often.
You see
that was a good kill.
Little piece of like meat coming out, and it was fantastic, dude. Especially for back then, like that was like damn, like that was good props. Yeah. Literally props.
So after the killings, I believe that that we go back to we're going to go back to Glazer now. He goes to get the matches, and when he goes to get the matches and some wood, Alfred,
Alfred,
right?
That's freaking guy.
He's sleeping. This scene's kind of funny because he has like his eyes closed, and while he's getting the matches, he opens one eye, to see who it is. And when Glazer looks at him, he closes it and he's like, all right. And then he leaves. And then for some reason, he wants to follow him. So he follows him.
There was that one scene where so you have Alfred following Glazer, and there's a moment that I remember. I don't think you had caught it, but then so I brought it up. But he's getting back to Sally, and she's a few feet away. She's maybe like 8-9 feet away, and he's walking up. But Glazer looks back, and he looks right at Alfred. He looks right back at him.
Oh, he looks at him. He like turns his head and looks at him.
Yeah, he looks at him, and Alfred is literally like as close as we are right now. And then out of nowhere,
he's like 5 feet back in the air.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, he just keeps walking. He's like, Sally. And I mean, he doesn't say that exactly, but he's kind of trying to check to make sure because he's thinking she fell asleep or something. He's like, we're playing hide and seek. Yeah. And then you see Alfred out of nowhere just hiding behind like the branches and bushes and stuff. But to me, it was weird because like, wait a minute, you just looked right at him. Like, that was hilarious. I was like, you just looked at him. He was right next to you, almost touching elbows. And now you're pretending it's like, oh, no, now you can't.
Because I think that was more of like an editing mistake. Sure. Like we spoke about. There's some choppy parts in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Where the editing is not as good.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was one of those.
So basically, after that, Alfred sees not only because what's this guy's name?
Eddie? No, Glazer.
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 The names, man. Glazer goes to see Sally, and when he pulls down, he sees that Sally's dead. Yeah. And as soon as that happens, this guy shears him right. And this is my favorite kill because the Glazer kill is cool because he gets him in the neck, and then the camera follows him and pushes him back into a tree.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really cool shot. I think it's probably one of the best shots in the movie.
And that's interesting.
Where they actually played with the camera a little bit.
The way he had power too to pick on. It was a very Friday the 13th kill.
Yeah.
Or Michael Myers type kill because when you see the guy in the beginning, this guy's like a drunk. He's
not a big guy.
Not at all. He's an older guy. Like there's no way, especially Glazer. Is it Glazer or Glazer? I feel like
we're calling him Glazer.
Yeah,
But
Glazer.
Either way, so
so
he gets him down into the tree and he
impales him.
Yeah, he gets him pretty good, and then he's alive the whole time, and then finally when he pulls it out, he just drops and he dies.
He pulls out those shears and then he's like done, and that sucked, man, because the kid grew on me. Like I was really, especially when he hooked up with her, and you see him immediately go from that like guarded person to very like smitten and sweet with her, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go get a fire, and it's exciting because you want to root for this couple just because out of nowhere after the whole like they hook up, like their chemistry just changed, like all that tension got out of the way.
There's like a moment of like it just feels true and it feels real and it feels like, oh, this might end up being a good couple like Todd is with his girl or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, what happens is basically Alfred runs, and he goes to Todd to get help.
Yeah, he wakes him up, and he's like, hey, man.
And Todd's like, all right, he's like, oh, you don't believe me? He's like, no, all right, but I'll go, like I'll help you out. So he gets he goes to check. He sees that they're dead, right? But then doesn't he go back to warn his girlfriend, and he tells her, grab everybody and go back to the canoe and get the cops.
Well, no, so that was actually. Because he goes back, he sees that they're dead, Sally and Glazer, and isn't that when the killer comes out again?
Right, and he starts chasing Andrew. That's when he starts chasing Andrew.
Well, no, he gashes
Alfred.
He gashes
saying Andrew.
I know.
You have to start this video or not?
That's it. Sorry, guys, you have to watch the next one. No, he gashes like a tiny gash. Like that's when you know,
that's right. That's right.
You know what?
He knocks him out, but he knocks him out. It's just the editing wasn't that good again.
Like where Todd, that Todd is a heartthrob in the movie where he gets the least damage. Yeah. Like this guy gets the tiniest gash on his temple, like a paper cut. And
he gets knocked out,
and then he's unconscious, and
so
then
the killer is chasing Alfred.
Alfred, there we go.
Right, and then while he's chasing him for like freaking 5 minutes, then we cut back to Todd waking up, and then that's when he tells his girl and everybody get in the canoe and go back and get help, and he gets like an axe and he goes to look for Alfred and then this is where I wanted to tell him while I was watching the movie, but I was like, let's save it for the video. There's some slashers that I feel like the third act chase and people love the chase, and I get it. I like the chase too, but it's too long. And I feel like this one's not as long. The one that I hate the most, and I'll say it, that is extremely long, is the remake of Halloween, the Rob Zombie one. Oh. If you watch the director's cut, Michael Myers is chasing this girl in the last third act for like what feels like 20 minutes. It's the worst. Like I get so bored already.
That makes sense why so many people hate it. I mean, I
don't like that movie, but
I hear nothing but negative things every time like somebody brings it up. They're like, don't ever speak about that movie ever again. And
the second one too. Now, when I first saw, I don't want to get into Halloween, but when I first saw it, I actually thought it was okay, but I've grown to really dislike it. But so yeah, I feel like some of these slashers, and in this one included, but the movie's short, so it's not bad. Yeah, like it doesn't feel too long, but I feel like he's chasing Alfred for like a really long time.
He was chasing for a long time, and then
Alfred runs funny as hell.
Yeah. Oh no,
he runs like hunchback like this.
Yeah, no, Alfred he looked like a little gorilla. Like I'm talking about the way this guy ran was so funny. I mean, guys, like if even if you're not interested in the movie, but you want to get a good laugh, just fast forward towards like the third act, man. Like I wish we had a specific, maybe like I'll put the number up here somewhere on the screen right there, boom, and pop it in there, like the exact timing. But this guy's just running, and it was just so funny. Like I'm sorry for the guys listening to the podcast, you don't get to see it, but he's just like this. He's like,
yeah, he just looks like his hands are shaking too much. His hunchback a little bit.
Yeah,
and so what happens is after all that chase, Crosby finally gets him. But you wonder why he doesn't kill him. At least I was wondering, especially the first time I saw it. So he kind of like he starts, Alfred starts to scream, and he kind of like puts like rope around him. He puts a shear through his hand.
Yeah, through his arm.
To hold him through his arm. And so then Todd hears all this, and Todd's like running now. This guy doesn't run like, he runs fast. No, he's like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, no, this guy was
with an axe, just running fast.
It was like The Shining. Like Jack Nicholson running with the axe, but Tom Cruise at the same time. It was just like you just see him and
super fast.
Yeah, this guy was like didn't get winded at all. Like he's just
So he hears Alfred screaming, and he finally goes in there and with axe. And when he sees him, then we have a reveal. The reveal of the movie is
no. The reveal is that Todd was one of the kids that freaking caused the killer to get set on fire and get injured multiple times and end up.
And they use this flashback actor that's only maybe a year or two difference. They don't even look that much alike. But it's like, oh yeah, this is Todd. Yeah. Because he goes, "Are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready?" It's like, "Todd, are you ready?" And then it flashes back from this other actor's face to the Todd that we see now.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay. So we know now that Crosby was using Alfred as bait for Todd to come, because this whole time the person he's really been wanting to kill is Todd the whole time.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, he was baiting him.
I mean, he killed a bunch of people that had nothing to do with it, but it's like, eventually I'll get to Todd.
You guys were casualties of war. I'm sorry.
Yeah, collateral damage.
You feel bad for the killer because when you see what he looks like, it's
he looks like all burnt. You've never seen that comic book Preacher?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, well they made a show too.
Yeah,
they call him like Ass Face or something like that. I forgot. Arse face. And so he's basically like that with just a hole, and this is what this guy kind of looks like.
Yeah. He looked like, and he kind of reminded me of like Freddy Krueger and Jason had a baby, because it's like that one Friday the 13th where his like mask breaks off and you see his face all
I think it's this one. I think it's it might be the New Blood. I think that's the first time that you really see like the zombie. I went to rewatch, but because 5 is not even him, so 6 will be like the first time we see the zombie one, and especially no, I'm sorry, it's part 6. Part 6 is the first time he's like zombied out, and then in 7 you see it too.
And I feel bad for if you're listening to the podcast, I'm sorry you don't get to see this awesome shirt that Lee's wearing, but
I'm wearing a Friday the 13th, The New Blood, which is not my favorite, but the shirt's pretty cool.
Dude, I love the color, man.
Yeah, like, it's nice.
It's beautiful. But no, and back to the killer, man. Yeah, the one thing that you said about the chase that I thought was funny. So this killer is coming out, and remind me, what was the killer's name again? It was
it's like Crosby. I've been saying Crosby. Maybe
Crosby.
Crosby and Nash.
Nash. It was Cropsey. You know, these names in this movie, they're so hard to remember, man. Like
Cropsey. Or maybe we're just having a tough time with the names.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of that name, Cropsey.
Cropsey.
Yeah, but So Cropsy's coming out, and he's like, "All right, Todd, you son of a bitch, like I'm coming for you." He doesn't say this,
He does
but
come with a
it.
cool
The flamethrower, this old school flamethrower. But the way he's walking out was it was such a long walk.
It was super slow.
That by the time he walks out, the flame
it
turns
runs
off.
out right when he's about to finally kill him. He's like, oh, it ran out.
And I'm not thinking to myself. I remember I was looking at Lee and I was like, dude, this is like hilarious. Like, what the hell's happening here? It just went from serious, like, oh, my nemesis, to you're waiting, like out of nowhere. You just like you see. I pictured Todd looking at his watch, and he's like, all right, any second now. That was hilarious, man.
So I guess after that, basically, Alfred comes out and hits him with the shears in the back.
Yeah, exactly. He jumps. That's the first time in the movie where Alfred, man, like steps up. He goes from being like the wimpy, scared, kind of like being the creeper kid to getting brave and seeing, like, oh, I gotta help Todd. Todd's like been helped. Like,
he finally did something.
Yeah, that was the mentality, at least that I thought when I saw that. He finally was like, dude, Todd's like trying to save my life, and he pulls out these shears from his arm/bicep, and I'm telling you, this kid's like maybe 100 pounds away. And he pulls out the shears, stabs Cropsy in the back,
and then he falls.
Then he falls.
We think he's dead, and then he comes back, like they always do. They always come scream. They always, you gotta shoot him in the forehead, and then so I think this is Todd that gets him, and it's a good kill too. He gets him with the axe and hits him right here, and then they catch him on fire.
Yeah, he hits him.
So I mean, he's dead. Like, there's no sequel to this movie because I mean, if you do, like I was saying, it might have to be like. Maybe we find out that Crosby had a sister or something, or a brother, because he's like, you get the axe right to the face, he's completely dead, and on top of that, the poor guy catch him on fire again. He's like, we caught you on fire, and here you go again.
Alfred sets him on fire, and this guy cannot get a break, man. And it's interesting when Todd hit him in the forehead impaled him with the axe. He hit him in the same spot that Jason got impaled with an axe in part 3, in the same spot. Like, and it wasn't, and I saw so many. I bring up Friday the 13th a lot because there was so many similarities.
Oh yeah.
But
this came out before part 3, but it definitely came out, before the first one.
But that kill was, man, like his eye kind of pops out. You see like gushing blood. I mean, it was good effects, man.
Yeah.
And then, at that point, he's freaking barbecue, and they're rescued and.
No. Basically, the camera pans out. We see him on fire all the way. And then it cuts to a new campfire. Yeah. Where there's this new group of, teenagers and camp counselors telling the same story that Todd told about Crosby. And when he says the same thing, which is kind of a cool little don't breathe, or he'll get, that says a couple of things. And cut to black and credits. That's it.
You know what? If anybody has seen this movie and knows this information, but do you... Because I was mentioning to you that I felt like that was an older version of Todd. It looked like a little bit aged version of him, because even the hair looked like it wasn't his.
Yeah, I personally don't think it was him, because it looked a little bit like him, but I wouldn't even see why Todd would keep telling that story after what happened. Plus, he killed him. So why would he tell the story if he knows he's dead?
It was just weird. He said it the exact word for word, the same tone, everything.
Yeah, it's like the story gets passed on from each camp to. I think that's what it is more than that, because I just don't think Todd would come back after the trauma he caused and still tell this story to all these kids.
I was thinking, what if he snapped? Because I mean, like even at the end when he says that final, like they never found him or whatever, or don't breathe, like he was like pissed. Like it was just almost like he looked crazy because
the actor was pretty good. It was a good. Well, I mean, if it is true, I mean, anybody could for sure in the comments let us know if that's him. I don't think it's him. He does. So let's see who's right. Who's wrong.
Yeah, there we go. Let's come on, guys. Is it an older Todd? He just like deranged after he just snapped after all this happening and losing all these kids and the guilt. Or is it just some other guy?
Just some other guy.
Some other guy.
So I mean. So we're gonna rate the movie now.
Yeah.
We'll give it out of our rating system is kind of like Letterboxd. We'll do up to 5. So final thoughts. That was your first time seeing it. You saw it literally like 30 minutes ago.
Look, guys, we just finished watching it. Took bathroom breaks and jumped on the camera here. So it's very fresh. Honestly, I would love to own this movie. That's how much I enjoyed it. Like I would add it to my collection. It would probably be a rewatch every year too. Like I want to say. It was a solid 3 for me. and it was a solid 3 because it was short and sweet. It started off, I mean, with the killing within the first few minutes, and I like how they fast forwarded pretty. Like it seemed like the movie was in a bit of a rush.
Yeah,
like that's what it was. It was like 6 months later, years later.
yeah, and
But
this time,
yeah.
well, no, finish. I'm sorry, finish your not only your final thought, but you got to give it your rating.
The rating.
No,
No, it was a 3 for sure.
it's
My
oh,
rating.
I'm sorry, it's a 3.
Yeah, but my final thought, well, was that it was I enjoyed it. I loved it. It definitely was campy early 80s.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to see it, man. That you recommended it to me,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean that I don't know. I'm kind of
Nah, I mean
a
that
bit of lost
pretty
for
much
words.
sums
Yeah,
it up.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there's not that much to say because it's a very plain story. Like it's straight to the point. You know, we don't learn too much from this killer other than he was caught on fire and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess my final thoughts of it is I'm glad I found this movie too, thanks to the documentary in Search of Darkness, which I recommend. If you want to see a lot of 80s stuff, they did like 3 parts of it, I think. So I saw the first 2, and yeah, I think the movie's fun, dude. It has like it's very much like a Friday the 13th, of course, as we said. 1981, so many slashers came out that year.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone has their favorites. Leave a comment for which was your favorite 1981 slasher. I actually want to know because there was so many. I think Happy Birthday to Me came out that year. Like I said, The Prowler, The Burning, Friday the 13th Part 2, and just so many others that I can't even think of right now.
Friday 13th Part 2 definitely is. So far, it's been top.
Yeah. So, but for me, it's a fun movie. It's like we said, it's campy. It takes place in a camp. And it's I really like the characters, man. There's a couple of characters, of course, like Eddie that I didn't like, but it worked because you don't like him and you want to see him die type of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought the guy that plays Todd was a solid actor. A lot of good solid actors. Jason Alexander is a young kid, the guy from Mario Brothers
or the Hackers.
Or the Hackers one. He's good in it too. Like there's chemistry between some of these young kids, and the girls were all really good too, man. Like
the girls are fantastic,
yeah, man. There's like sometimes you watch a lot of these low budget 80s movies, and what's the fun of it is the bad acting. But this movie has a few, but for the most part, I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's a 3.5. Good fun movie. I have watched it like once a year, but I think I'm gonna take a break after this year because I've seen it too much now. I don't want to get burned out on it. Burning.
Oh, there it is.
That was stupid.
Yeah, man. There he is.
But I'll probably rewatch it in a couple of years again because I do enjoy it, and it's short, it's sweet, and yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's like it's a cult movie, but I don't think it has as much of a following as the bigger ones. Even something like The Prowler, which I really don't like at all. I think has a bigger following, so I think people should check it out. That's why we wanted to review it. That's why I wanted to show it to him.
Yeah.
I've shown it to a few friends already because I was introduced to it by this documentary not too long ago. So yeah, it was fun, man. I enjoyed watching it with you for the first time.
No, dude, I appreciate it, man, because it was, honestly, I'd rather watch a campy movie like this that it might be a little cheesy here and there, but at least it's practical effects. People worked hard on it. And it's better than a lot of stuff in the last few years, man. Like a lot of horror movies have come out.
I mean,
in modern age, and
but horror's been pretty good lately. I mean, it's been
it
up and down, like always. That's the thing. Every decade has good and bad horror.
Yeah.
I think 2022 had a lot of good horror movies. There's been a couple of years it's been up and down, but no, I mean, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's fun to see like an old school one that's good.
Yeah. And it was like
you've never seen.
It was like looking at a digital like high school yearbook type thing because you see like Jason Alexander and all these young actors, like very young and
up and coming,
yeah, and it's like damn, like look at them as kids, man, like starting out, and that was fun for me. Like once I started recognizing people, that's when it was like okay, and then you start seeing the acting. But yeah, definitely highly recommend it. Watch it, have fun with it, take it for what it is, and leave in the comments to let us know if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, if
however you feel about it, we're fine with that. Yeah, again, put your star rating on there. See what you would rate it from 1 through 5, or however you want to do it. And make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video. We got more videos coming for you guys real soon.
Oh, absolutely. We've been just even before this video, we've already been getting content ready for you guys. Also, make sure please leave us recommendations because obviously, as you see back here, there's other shelves full of content just waiting to get prepared for you guys to enjoy. But I'll always leave recommendations because these channels we're we're making these channels to not just for ourselves to have fun, but to be a part of the community. So
yeah,
let us
look
know.
us up on Apple Podcasts.
On
we're
Spotify.
on Spotify. We're all over the place. If you just want to you're cleaning your house, you can't watch it on YouTube. You put it on the Apple, or you're going for a run or a walk.
Yeah,
you're driving. Put us on.
Yeah, just throw on the podcast. There you go. You
don't have to watch. You can listen to it.
You could watch us sit here, or you could just listen to us and follow us on social media, on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter,
everything,
TikTok. We're all
Lee and GC Face the Movies everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. And thank you again for watching, guys. We hope to you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you soon.
See you on the next one.
Don't look. He'll see you. Don't move. He'll hear you. Don't breathe. You're dead.